to a close. Milwaukee leads Detroit by 2 games for the number 5 seed in the Eastern Conference playoff chase. One win in the final 2 will give the higher seed to the Bucks. Coach Doc Rivers expects the 2 games to be playoff-like.
It's the first part of the playoff. I mean, that's basically what it is in some ways, So it's going to be a great experience. I think I'm looking forward to it. I think the crowd in Detroit's going to be amazing. They're going to play hard. They're going to play well, and we're going to have to match. I can't pick a better scenario going into the playoff than this. Pretty good.
Milwaukee's opponent for either seed still to be determined, as the Pacers and Knicks are separated by just 1 game for the 3rd and 4th seeds. Again, it'll be Bucks and Pistons tonight. Tip is at 6. Turning Brewers, they are in Arizona to face the Diamondbacks tonight. Milwaukee has won 3 straight series since opening the year 0-4. That included taking 2 of 3 in Colorado this week. After the weekend series with Arizona, we're back home next week to face the Tigers.
Get insurance from a company who knows Wisconsin and cares about your community. You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home and auto rates? Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more about products and discounts.
Well, we are less than 2 weeks out from the start of the NFL draft. Things get going April 24th in Green Bay with the first round. Packers own pick number 23 in that round. And Wisconsin going to be on the field for practice tomorrow morning. The spring ball continues. Spring game coming up next Saturday. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
A little nostalgic. I've enjoyed them all. It's something that's it's a great tradition, and I know it'll continue. And I know not only the current players, but the alumni really enjoy coming back and being a part of it.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The West Coast Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Been a little bit since we've chatted, since we've had a chance to talk. And normally, when that's the case, if I'm off for a week or if I'm off for a couple of days, it makes for a very easy show, right? Because we have so much to talk about. All of these things that have taken place, like if I'm off for a week or a couple of days, there's all these games or these sports stories that have been missed. We haven't got a chance to talk about it. So normally, when I'm gone for a while and we come back and we do a show, it's pretty easy because there's so much on the table. And I think it will be easy tonight. We certainly have a ton to talk about. But I was, if I haven't told you this 100 times already, I was out of the country for the last week. We were in Iceland. And the time change was about 6 hours. And it wasn't totally debilitating. Body feels a little confused. But today, middle of the afternoon, I'm like, I just got to get some more. I got to wake up. So I got my sugar-free Red Bull, Nectar of the Gods, my favorite drink. And we've now posted up at Flipside, already Flipside here, right across Menards in La Crosse. So to our WK2I listeners, this is the spot we do a bunch of shows. And I love doing shows here. I love any opportunity. I'll relish any chance to get out and to do a show with people and to meet listeners and to chat. Like, it's always a blast. I really love doing it here because it's such a great space. The bar is huge and there's lots of tables. So sometimes you do a show in a cramped bar and it's loud and it's not really great. And that's fun, right? I love being in a bar. But this place is great. So come on in and enjoy Friday night special, the fish fry. I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But if you're a La Crosse listener, WK2I listener, stop on out. Going to be here until 6. Get a fish fry, get some drinks. I always say it's the best happy hour in town. I tell you that all the time. It's 2 for 1. Tap beers, house wines, rail mixers, right? The easy stuff. Come in after work and have a couple. But Friday tonight, especially this time of year, the fish fry. So stop on out. Won't be able to take phone calls tonight, so I'm sorry. The show will be back in its usual state with phone calls, and we'll certainly have a lot to chat about on Monday because at that point it'll be almost a week and a half, right, since we've been able to take calls. But I will get to your comments on the live stream tonight. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and if the place fills up, I'll do my best to kind of maneuver the cameras and kind of give you some sights and sounds of the place. And maybe if Eric on I-90 or one of our, let's say, prolific, or not prolific, vocal lacrosse listener shows up, maybe I'll have to badger him to hop on camera. But the live stream is up YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And of course, you can text in too, 608-321-1670, and I'll do my best to get to all of it. And throughout the night, I'm going to share some of the highlights, some of the things that going on here at Flipside, and this is a great time of year. And I thought when I pulled up, it was sunny most of the day on the Crosse today. It looks like maybe the sun poked behind some clouds. But when I pulled up, just see that beautiful sand, the volleyball court, the outdoor patio that opened last summer, and a big expansion right here to the side of the restaurant, a great patio and a great space. Out in the sun today, no volleyball yet, but we're getting really, really, really close. So a really fun time of year to be back in the Crosse. Did the Packers tailgate tour event last night, which was really fun. A couple of things that I just got to tell you about. Mark Murphy was there, Tucker Kraft, Lucas Van Ness, Amon Green, John Michaels, and UWL legend, the Crosse legend, Bill Schrader as well. So a couple things that I just got to tell you about selfishly because it was a really cool event and a ton of money. I mean a ton of money. I'm not just talking about a couple $100 raised for the Hunger Task Force. The Packers themselves, Mark Murphy hand delivering a check to Shelley last night, the executive director, for $25,000. And then that doesn't even count, obviously, the admission that was paid. I think they sold over 400 tickets. The place was packed. Stony Creek in Alaska, and then some silent auction items. And I actually myself, first time for everything, live auction off a helmet. And I'm glad. I think the thing went for $3,000 when all was said and done, and it had the signatures of everyone involved in the event. It was really cool. But my fear was, maybe I didn't have, the commensurate juice, let's say, as an auctioneer, and I'm up there and we're stuck at $200, and I can't get anyone to bid on the thing, and then people with the Packers and the Hunger Task Force are mad at me because I did my job. But that was not the case. A ton of generosity and a really cool Packers event last night. So I want to tell you about that a little bit as the show goes on. But because I've been off for a week and a half, let's talk about the Brewers and the Bucks. Let's just get caught up here on what we've missed. Because when I left, our last show was Wednesday, April 2nd last week. And the Brewers had just won their second game of the year. They were white hot, technically, after starting 0-4. They had just won their second game in the series finale to take the series against Kansas City. And they had won an extra. And even though they had won, I think I did some belly aching and I did some complaining a little bit. It's like, man, even when they won today, and I think my number one takeaway from that game and something that I kind of belly ached about was how the Pat Murphy Brewers, for as fun as they can be, and they do a lot of fun stuff on the base paths, and they're willing to drop down a bunt, they're willing to put on, a suicide squeeze or a double steal, all that. It's a fun brand of baseball. But one of my issues, and I think we saw it the last time we talked, was that they can shrink the field. It feels like sometimes they get so in their head when they have runners on base and they get so caught up in, we just need to get this runner over. We just need to get this runner home. They get so caught up in it, and it just feels like the field shrinks, like they can't get the ball out of the infield, right? And that culminated, by the way, in the Brewers walking off the game with a bunt. Like even when they succeeded in scoring that run to win the game, the field was shrunk. And it felt tight as it had all day. So even last Wednesday when the Brewers had won, and they'd won their second in a row, and they'd won a series, I was still doing a little complaining. Well, since then, and I was in Iceland, and all of these games were being played at midnight or 1 a.m. The Brewers took 2 out of 3 against Cincinnati, winning 2 of those games, their 2 wins by, or 2 of their 3 wins, I should say, it was a 4-game series, by 1 run, because grass is green, water is wet. The Brewers beat the Reds by 1 run. They took 3 of 4 from the Reds. They took 2 of 3 from the Rockies. And for the first time in forever, I don't want to say the first time in my lifetime, because this happened, but it's very rare that the Brewers go out to Coors Field and succeed. And they won games 7-1, and then a complete and total offensive explosion in game 2. They won that game 17-2. And didn't they score, 7 runs in the 9th inning? I'm a dedicated sports fan, and, a job means a lot to me. I want to make sure that I'm watching the games, being accurate in my analysis, and providing, smart. This is why you come to the show, right? Smart, thoughtful sports analysis. I didn't stay up till the end. The game would have ended about 4 a.m. my time, so I missed the end. But I think they scored 7 runs in the 9th inning. It's a sight. It's amazing how one hitter getting hot, one elite hitter, one elite offensive player getting it going. It's amazing the difference that can have, and that was Jackson Churio. I'll read you a couple of stats that I bookmarked. The numbers and some of the comparisons are pretty incredible. So Todd Rosiak tweeted this the other day. Jackson Churio, who's 0 for 5 strikeout game on opening day, left many wondering if his career was over. Very funny. I love Todd. He is now hitting .327 with an OPS over 1,000 and has 16 RBIs. In the 3-game stretch, his last 3 games, 12 RBIs, 6 extra base hits, 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, or 1 stolen base, 2 doubles, excuse me. And according to OptaStats here, Since the RBI became official in 1920, the only other MLB players to hit those marks over a 3-game span are, they're pretty good players, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Shohei Ohtani. So, and I felt like we did this last season too. Like I just found myself bookmarking all of these stats or these comparisons or these basically precedent-setting stretches of play from Jackson Churio when he got hot down the stretch. It's like he just did something that hasn't been done since 1960, or he just did something that hasn't been done since since Babe Ruth. But just having that one bat, getting it going, it's amazing how that can impact everybody else. Because even though the Brewers really started scoring runs, and it's amazing, their run differential is like minus 30 something after the Yankees series, and they've bounced back now to basically being even. I don't know where they stand, but they're basically back to 0, which I know doesn't sound great, but when you consider they were down they were 30 runs in the red after the opening, it's pretty incredible. Even though they've been scoring runs and winning games and playing so much better over the last week, well, I've been off, so maybe you're welcome. Maybe I should do more often. I don't know that Yelich has looked that awesome. There's a couple big home runs, and I love seeing that. I like seeing him confidently get a hold of a ball, hitting it out to center, pulling a ball. Like, I like to see that, but I wouldn't go so far as to say that Yelich is completely and totally dialed in. I don't know that he looks awesome. Contreras, I know that he had a pair of home runs. I think one of those home runs, if we're being honest, is kind of the Coors Field type home run. It was a pop-up that carried. Still give him credit, right? And I'm not trying to take away anything from the Brewers. I'm trying to point out that even though they've been scoring runs, I still don't know that Yelich is completely and totally cooking. I don't know that Contreras is cooking. Rhys Hoskins certainly isn't. That's been food. And I'm a Rhys Hoskins defender, but it's been poor. It's been bad. It's basically been Jackson Churio as the engine of the thing, right? And baseball is such a funny game because just like football, it's very much a team sport. You have starting pitching, relief pitching, the offense, obviously the hitters, but then those guys also play the field. So you have all these different elements that are combining and necessary to win a baseball game. Just like in football, you got your O-line, your wide receivers, running backs, right? Defense, special teams, ultimate team sport. I don't know that baseball is the ultimate team sport in the same way that football is because a lot of the same players hit and field, but it's certainly a team sport, right? You need all of these different pieces of the machine operating at least an acceptable level to win games, right? So you would think, well, one elite player, I mean, that's not, one elite player can't win you games on its own, right? You wouldn't think that about baseball, but oftentimes it can be true. I mean, remember the Brewers in 2018, that was not an elite offensive team. They had some nice moments with certain hitters. By and large, if you go back and you look at the numbers, especially in September and into the playoffs, it was Yelich. Like, he was the engine of the thing. And then everyone else just kind of did enough. You know what I mean? It was Yelich being the driving force, and then everyone in 18 kind of just doing enough. And that's been the case with Jackson Churio. Baseball's a funny sport. It is a team sport, very much so, just like football, maybe to a slightly lesser degree. But one guy completely powering it up and getting white hot can win you baseball games. And I think that's been the case with Jackson Churio because even though, like I said, they've been scoring a ton of runs, been winning games, I still don't know that Yelich has gotten it going. I know Contreras had a couple nice pops. He still doesn't look comfortable. He still doesn't look like he's in any sort of a groove. And I don't want to blast the guy. It's early, right? It's still April 11th. But you would think with the amount of runs that the Brewers have scored in their turnaround here since that opening weekend, really, since the opening 4 games, 3 against the Yankees, and then the home opener, which was a complete and total turd, you think, well, Yelich got it going. Contreras and Hoskins figured out. Man, not really. Like, it's mostly Churio. That's mostly been the show offensively. And that's why baseball is such a funny game. And it's such a weird, I don't want to say fluky, but it's a unique kind of corny game in that you need all of these pieces to work. But then again, you get one guy in the middle of the order who gets it going. Single-handedly power an offense and win you baseball games. We saw it in 18 with Yelich, and I think we're seeing it right now in a much smaller scale, in a much smaller run of games. But also, we saw him do it basically the entire second half of last year. And you can futz around on, pro baseball reference or it's not pro football, or maybe it is pro baseball reference. You know what I'm talking about, right? If you put in, date markers for the statistical websites and say Jackson Churio stats post, like let's say June of last year, pretty incredible high level of play offensively. And they're still waiting on a lot of other hitters who I think can operate at a much higher level than we've seen, even though it's been better over the last week. So that's kind of what we've missed with the Brewers, and they've certainly been a lot more fun to watch than they were, let's just say, over the opening weekend. If you have any texts or thoughts on the Brewers, I'll give you a Bucks thought here too. But first, I just want to make sure that if you're sending stuff in, I get to it because, again, we can't take calls tonight. Bobby Manami says Brewers need to bunt more and bunt better. Hey, every once in a while, yeah. But as I said the last time we talked a week ago Wednesday, I think in one small moment, specific moment, a bunt can be really helpful. But when it's a mindset that you're carrying with you through the entire course of a game, I think it shrinks the field offensively, and the Brewers start to look really limited, and their offense kind of turns into a pop gun offense. And they don't need to be that offense. They don't need to resort to gimmicks. And I said this last year too. For all of the fun and excitement of double steals, bunts, and all, they smacked the hell out of the baseball last year too. So I think some of the talk about the Brewers from last year, a little bit of revisionist history, like they were this, slapdash offense that, had to use smoke and mirrors. I think they utilized some smoke and mirrors here and there when they needed to, but they also could drive the ball. And they hit a lot of home runs last year between Adames, Churio, and Yelich when he was healthy, and Contreras. And they still have that gear in them, even without Adames on the team this year. So let's not get it mistaken. I think, Bobby, you're being a little facetious as well. They don't need to bunt all the time. I love that it's a weapon in their arsenal, and it's entertaining. It's fun baseball, right? Variety is the spice of life. I don't want to just watch guys get up there and swing for the fences. That's good for nobody. That's not an entertaining product. But that certainly needs to be part of your menu offensively. Rico on the live stream. Rico, it's funny. So I was just talking with some people who are always the Flipside, whether it be the owner, and said, well, we'll probably see Rico. And I saw your tweet last night that you're out of town with your mother, something like that. I can't remember what you tweeted at me. I'm sleep deprived. It's not that I'm ignoring your tweet, Rico. I'm just sleep deprived, and my body's in a different time zone right now. He says I am not happy that I'm not at Flipside right now. Apologies. Tyler and Mass on the live stream points out what's behind me here on the live stream. Says the genuine is out there was a great campaign for MGD. Yeah, there's a sign on the wall behind me here. Miller Genuine Draft bar mirror sign. Pretty sweet. I love it. Delicious MGD. Also, and you can't see it on the live stream, but I'll make mention of this before we take our first break. We do have situated throughout the restaurants, and if you see where I'm positioned in the corner, you'll see it when you walk into the bar here at Flipside. On the wall, we have a QR code that you can scan with your phone. It takes all of 20 seconds, and we're giving away a Bob Uecker jersey, old-timey blue and yellow. And I'll grab it, and I'll show you on the live stream on the other side of this break. But come on down, get a fish fry, get a drink. The work week is over. It was a beautiful day in La Crosse today, and I don't think the sun is still out. It's gone behind the clouds, but it's still a very nice day. Maybe step out onto the patio, get some air, get some fish, enjoy some of their drink specials, and get signed up to win this really cool Bob Uecker jersey as well. So when we come back, we'll continue to talk about the Brewers a little bit. I'll give you a Bucks thought as well, because, again, we haven't talked in a week and a half, and a lot has happened. And at some point during tonight's show, I don't know whenever it naturally comes up, a couple things that I want to share from the Packers tailgate event last night that were very cool. The tailgate tour came to La Crosse, raised a lot of money for the Hunger Task Force. So at some point, I got to talk about that with you as well. But we'll be back in 3 minutes. With the Sports Show live at Flipside Pub and Grill on the north side. The quote, not very far north. You don't have to go too far north. Right across from Menards, down the hill from the main drag, the corner of West Ave and La Crosse Street. So come on down. We'll be here until 6.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Brent Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will be next. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. The Wisco Sports Show back on the air for the first time in a bit, and I am sorry. Sorry. I love taking time off, as anyone does. I love going on a vacation or a trip like anybody, but I realize that when I'm gone, the show's not on, so we don't have a way to react to a Brewers winning streak or some really fun games, some really fun wins over the last week. But happy to be back. We'll be back in studio on Monday, so we'll be able to take your phone calls and get your insightful takes and bits of analysis. The Brewers start a series with the Diamondbacks tonight. So Brewers in bed, back. Start time, I believe, is 8:40 tonight. I was in Iceland last week. Did I mention that I was in Iceland? By the way, I was. And the time changed a little while. I didn't see much of the Final Four game. And I'll be honest, I completely forgot about the national championship because it didn't start until after 1 a.m. I'm pretty sure. I think the night that it was on, I went to bed at like 9:45. So I wasn't catching it whether it started at 10 or midnight or 1 or 2 or wherever. Be back in studio on Monday, like I said, back to taking your phone calls. But you can text in 608-321-1670 and the live stream, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Please comment. We're live here at Flipside for the evening, and we're so excited. And I was just talking to Dave, the owner, and the guy who we always connect with when we do shows out here and helps make this possible. And he's so excited to be offering breakfast, not just on weekends, because I tell you, right, Saturday and Sunday, you can come in early, get a screwdriver or get a bloody and get breakfast food. But now the rest of the week as well, Tuesday through Saturday, starting at 8 a.m., 6 days a week. And I know Dave is really, really excited for folks to be able to come in here and get breakfast. And I experienced this morning when I got up at my hotel and I'm like, okay, now I got to go get a bite to eat. And in La Crosse, and I think this is true of a lot of Wisconsin towns too, sometimes you got to wait a long enough time to get a good breakfast, right? Because there's not as many options. So Flipside, not just on weekends now, but throughout the week as well. You can try something called the Krabby Dave, topped with crab and cream cheese and eggs made to order, hollandaise, right? The Bloody Mary's obviously still a thing. And as it says out on the sign, if you are someone who's looking for an Easter brunch, place to go on Easter, they're taking reservations. So make sure to call and to get your spot. But if not for Easter, now open for breakfast Tuesday through Saturday as well, starting at 8 a.m. So take advantage of that. We were talking about the Brewers a little bit before the break, and I think my thought in the biggest of big pictures, because that's all we have to do. I've been off the air for over a week. Is that it's funny. It's amazing what one player getting it going can do for an entire baseball team. And that's been Jackson Churio. And I know Yelich hit a home run or two at Coors. I mean, a lot of people hit a home run at Coors. Terang's hitting with some pop. I want to see a little bit more sample. I think next week when we're back in studio and I have a little time to sit down and flesh some things out, I want to compare what Bryce Trang has done so far in 2025 to what he had done in 2024. Because he got off to a great start last year, right? But it could seem, and I'm going to knock on wood, I don't want to jinx it, it maybe could seem, if you squint and you really want to convince yourself, that maybe he's taken even another step, right? Maybe he's added just a little bit more power to his game. And man, if he can hit, 15 to 20 home runs on top of the platinum glove defense that he's capable of playing and stealing a pile of bases as well, like that's an unbelievable player. He's not going to have to hit 30, 35 bombs this year to really add a big, I guess, tool to his toolbox, right? Power hitting. But I need to see a little bit more sample. And to be 100% honest with you, I need someone like Jack Stern or Kurt Hogue or Rosiak or somebody. I need somebody to sit down and write that story, right? And say, here are his numbers from the beginning of last year. Here's his numbers from the beginning of this year. Someone look at the launch angle. Someone look at the exit velo. Someone look at the swing path. Like I'll be honest, I need a smart Brewers person, and there are many. And maybe I missed a story like that throughout this week. I'm still getting caught up. I need someone to dig into that data. That's another thing to watch. Bryce Trang has been great, but mostly it's Jackson Chourio getting it going, right? Adding a couple RBIs a night, multiple homers, hitting doubles. There was one play, and I think it was in the game where they scored 17 runs. Some of these games, I was watching highlights mostly after the fact because the time changed when I was on our trip this last week. But I think it was in the game they won 17-2. Chourio hit at least one home run. He might have hit two. But the play that jumped out to me, and probably the play that best illustrates why Jackson Chourio is special, was a double that he hit to right field. And I think there were two runners on, either runners on first and second or second and third. And Chourio hit the ball the opposite field to the wall and right, which is all right. Opposite field hitting. A lot of hitters do a really good job with that. But it was the way that it went down. So let me describe it. So the pitcher goes up and away. I think the pitch was 96 miles an hour. So Jackson Chourio, right-handed hitter, fastball coming up and away at 96, and Chourio's late on it, right? He was sitting back, and he was late to begin his swing. And typically when you have that, you're going to foul a ball off if you can hit it at all, right? Being late on a fastball up and away at 96 or faster, like that's not an easy ball just to foul off, right? You're looking to spoil the pitch or survive the pitch, right? It's even harder to put that ball in play. I think that's probably an example like Rock would say, nice inside-out swing, right? Or something like that, pulled his hands and something like that. So it's hard enough to simply survive the pitch. It's even harder to put that ball in play and to drop it into right field. It's even harder yet to catch up to that pitch at 96 out and away and to drive it almost out of the ballpark. And you can see a couple examples of Jackson Chourio doing this last year too. I think that's the type of swing and the type of play that he's capable of making that really, really shows why he's special. Bat speed, hand speed, natural power that's built into a swing that, again, that's not the type of swing that's supposed to drive a baseball. It's not the type of swing that's supposed to make contact, period, let alone drive a baseball, right? Most players, when you guess right or you get a hold of the ball, you can pull it. Anybody can put a good charge into a ball in 2025. Insert Sal Frelick joke here. Yeah, okay, sure. Insert Sal Frelick joke. But it's another thing to be late on a fastball that's up and away and to not only make contact, but to almost drive it out of the ballpark. Like that was the play from Jackson Chourio over last week, and there were a good amount of them. There were a great many. It's a long list. But that was the player I'm like, okay. So that's why they were willing to give him $80 million before he had ever played, forget in the major league, before he had ever played in AAA. Right. So I like to circle plays like that. That was, well, and I'll actually do you one more. So I texted Kurt here just a couple of days ago. So I sent him the highlight of the play of that double to right field. And I said, I'm no scout or hitting expert, but you're not supposed to be able to be that late to a fastball up and away and to be able to drive it that far. And Kurt simply replied, and this is an endorsement. This is a compliment I'd love to get from a sports writer. He said, Grant, you effing know ball. Thank you. All right. So I can get some things right. So that was a play from Jackson Chourio, but it's been him being the engine of the offense. I still think Yelich is figuring it out. I still think Contreras is getting it going. I know they had some nice moments in Colorado, but those two players still feel a ways off offensively. And Reese Hoskins, I don't even know what Reese Hoskins is or what he's doing. Like he's looked as bad and as ineffective as ever. And last year, it's like coming off an injury, and then he got into midseason with his hamstring, and he had some nice moments. We have yet to even get, bare minimum nice moments so far this year, and he's been up in some spots. That's what's frustrating to many, I think, too, especially in the finale against the Rockies the other day. It's like, yeah, he came up with runners on in a big spot when the game was very much in reach. I think it might have even been tied. When you get a good starting performance from a pitcher, you wouldn't really expect to get, a good starting performance from. And he's just been, he just hasn't been there. So it's been Churio and little guys kind of contributing in dribs and drabs. Baseball's a funny game like that, as I said in our opening segment. 608-321-1670. I'm just going to comment on the live stream here from Brandon. He says, MLB Network talk Terang. See post above. I don't see did you put something in the thread? Send it again or DM it to me on Twitter or Facebook or something. Because again, I have been reading Twitter. I was in Iceland and I didn't really know if there would be service or how good the service would be. We did some excursions, out to different sites around the island where we were on really nice buses with Wi-Fi, with phone chargers. So if you're ever like, maybe I want to go to Iceland, but it's super easy. The country, they can book excursions and you can hop on buses and they'll take you to see everything. And all these buses are super nice. So they had Wi-Fi, but there was also like great service around the entire country. Everywhere we went, I had great service. So we had these long bus excursions where it's like, we're going to go see this waterfall and then we're going to drive another 25 minutes and we're going to go see a glacier. And then we're going to go another half hour and we're going to stop in this little town and we're going to get lunch. So there was all this sightseeing with bus time kind of dispersed throughout. So when I was on the bus, I was like, oh, here we go. Just scrolling Twitter. It was great. See a waterfall, scroll Twitter for 20 minutes. Go see a glacier, drink some water out of the lake that probably was okay to drink. I don't know. I never asked anyone. Scroll through Twitter. So I was kind of staying up, but I haven't seen the Bryce Terang story yet. And I would bet dollars to donuts that maybe Jack Stern is working on something like that, or Kurt, or Dom. Dom would be another great resource for something like that as well. I want to know if this is 2024 Bryce Terang 2.0, right? Or if yet he's found even a little bit more oomph and made, dare I say, maybe made a second quantum leap. If you can hear around me, we're live at Flipside here in La Crosse. I love being back in La Crosse. This weekend is pretty tough to beat for me, selfishly. Last night, the Hunger Task Force, hosting the Packers as a part of their tailgate tour at Stony Creek, raised up a pile of money. Got to do a Q&A and meet Mark Murphy and Tucker Kraft and Lucas Van Ness, and Amon Green is there. Amon Green is a legend. He hasn't played for the Packers in, when did he retire? I guess I can't remember. I know he had a second stint with the Packers, but it's been a bit, right? It's not like Jordy Nelson, who retired more recently, or a player like that who would still certainly have a lot of buzz among Packers fans. But I saw this at the Super Bowl firsthand too, because a lot of times when Bill is on the air, I'll get a guest down at the table, and if we don't have anyone coming up next, if I haven't coordinated something with a booker, with an agent, I'll just go walk laps. So Bill, you do this interview, I'm going to go find someone else and drag him over here. And Amon Green was moseying around Radio Row, and I found him probably like a 2-minute walk. It's a big convention center, and it took forever to get Amon from that spot to Bill's table, because every Tom, Dick, and Harry, whether it was a current NFL player, a former NFL player, someone who had anything to do with Nebraska or the Big Ten, oh my God, Amon, wanted to shake his hand, wanted to meet him. And it was really cool to have Amon there last night too. So maybe at the end of this hour, I'll share some of the comments and the experiences we had at the tailgate tour last night. That was last night. Today, doing the show at Flipside tonight. I get to play a gig up on the Bluff. I don't want to say the name of the bar because no free advertising, but it's a place, let's say, you would get your duff up the Bluff to go to this place. So that's tonight. And then I got a buddy's bachelor party this weekend. So I'm enjoying myself. And the weekend starts at Flipside. So come get a fish fry. Come enjoy some of their drink specials. And remember, they're now offering breakfast. And Dave is so excited. He's wanted to do this for forever because people want to come here for breakfast. Not just on Saturday and Sunday for bloodies and screwdrivers, but now starting at 8 a.m. Tuesday through Saturday, you'll be able to come and enjoy breakfast during the week with coworkers or before work or whatever. Take the family out if you have an off day or something like that. Made from scratch. pancakes, right? Get some fresh fruit, some hash browns. Oh my God. Love hash browns, bacon, sausage, all that good stuff. And if you come out tonight, our WK2I listeners here in La Crosse, I have a QR code, a poster on the wall beside me, in front of me, super easy to find. Scan it with your phone, and we have a Bob Uecker jersey to give away. Or you could take Brewers tickets. That's something that's more interesting to you. And this is the jersey. It's the old color scheme, which I absolutely love, and it's a Uecker #9 on the back. So this could be yours. Not to mention a delicious fish fry dinner. So come on in. They're food and fun without the franchise, like I'm always telling you. Artie's Flipside Pub and Grill, right across the Menards, just down the hill from kind of the main drag of the campus, the corner of La Crosse Street and West Ave. Come right down the hill. Plenty of parking, plenty of space, so you're not going to have to stand, get a table, sit down, enjoy. That's why I love doing shows here, is there's so much space to set up shop. When we come back, a couple of Bucks thoughts, a couple of NFL headlines, one in particular in the last hour or two that I find very interesting. And I also want to share with you some details of what happened last night when the Packers brought their tailgate tour to La Crosse. So all that's coming up next. Wisco Sports Show live at Flipside Pub and Grill here in La Crosse. We'll be back in just a couple of
This
minutes.
is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. We're live here at Flipside on the north side of La Crosse, technically. And I got a lecture, what was it, a year or two ago from Eric on I-90, who, look, I shouldn't sound so dismissive of Eric's analysis because he probably knows better than anyone. If there is a resource to speak about where the line of the north and south side of La Crosse is, it's probably Eric. The Flipside is on the north side. It's just not very far on the north side. It's really close to campus, actually. It's just down the hill. So if you know where, if you've been to La Crosse for state track or for Oktoberfest or just for anything, you probably know the corner right on campus where the Quick Trip is, La Crosse Street and West Ave. Just go right down the hill. It's not even a mile down the way, right through the marsh. It's right across from the Menards. And I love doing shows here because there's so much room. We've done shows in packed bars. People are standing corner to corner, and it's loud, and the place is popping. I don't see many empty seats, if any at all. It's a big place, but you can come in, sit down, relax, come say hey. We'll talk Brewers, we'll talk Bucks. I got a Bucks take for you here in a sec. I know I've been saying for the last half hour we're going to get to the Bucks. Just trying to get caught up on everything that we've missed over the last week and a half because I've been gone. We do have a Bob Luker jersey to give away tonight if you're stopping out, or Brewers tickets. You can pick either one. So, and we're not going to stick you with some Tuesday game. Like we'll work with you to find a Brewers game that works. We have a selection of tickets you can pick from, or you could take the Bob Luker jersey, which is an old timey blue and yellow scheme. It's a very, very cool jersey. All you got to do is come in and scan the QR code on the wall behind me. But you got to be present to win. So if you stop in, you might have to stay until 6. That's a good problem to have, because you can get a fish fry. You can enjoy a delicious old fashioned. I think I'm going to dip into both myself. It's just that if I start eating fried fish at the beginning of the show, I'm going to end up with burps and greasy fingers. It'll be a whole mess. So in about an hour, maybe I'll put an order in. Stop on out. You can text the show 608-321-1670, and you can comment on the live stream as well. And Matt, who I love Matt's take, he says water hits so different out of those Pepsi cups. Oh yeah. Oh my God. And my voice is it's a little scratchy, not because I've been talking too much. I can talk with best of them. It's just I think I'm my lack of sleep and maybe my didn't drink too much in Iceland. Had a couple last night. I mean, I'm not going to be in La Crosse for a night, sit in my hotel room. So just maybe catching up to me a little bit. So I am appreciative of these Pepsi cups. And Flipside, and the water does taste delicious out of it. Absolutely. When we last talked, it was April 2nd, I believe, right? Wednesday, April 2nd. And we kind of did an update. Here's what the Brewers have been doing since. Now, don't look now, but since we last talked, the Bucks have won 6 in a row, beating the Suns, beating the Sixers, beating the Heat, beating the Pelicans, beating Minnesota. And was that the game they were down? How many points were they down in the fourth quarter? I'm in a group chat with a couple of buddies, and 1 or 2 of them are Wolves fans. And I was just seeing the text. Because again, I was in Iceland. These games take place in the middle of the night, and we don't have American cable. Believe it or not, we actually do not get the FanDuel Sports Network. They don't get that in Reykjavik. The only channel in our hotel room that was worth watching was the USA channel, which, you don't think about it. The USA channel in the United States is, Law and Order, Suits, all that stuff. But then when you're abroad, it's like, oh, that's actually the only station that plays the shows that I want to see. So watch some Law and Order SVU, I prefer normal Law and Order, but SVU is bad. Watched some Murder, She Wrote. Not too bad. And I think some CSI Miami as well. I did not see the Bucks come back in the fourth quarter against the Wolves. They did, and then they beat New Orleans the other night. I remain skeptical, and I'm not too hopeful if Damian Lillard can't come back. And I would still bet against him coming back. I don't want to be dismissive, and I don't want to be glass half empty guy. Like, I hope he can come back. I hope he gets healthy and he's able to play basketball in the postseason, of course. I just don't know that it's likely. And if Dame can't come back, the Bucks ceiling is probably the second round, which, and this is a sad place to be, I'd kill to make the second round. They've been out of the second round in 3 years. It's been years. So advancing past the first round, and I believe if the playoffs started today, they would be the 5 playing the Pacers as the 4. I'm not getting it too bogged down in the current situation because the West especially is very, very close and a lack of change. But let's just say the playoffs start today. The Bucks are the 5 that's starting on the road against the Pacers. Like, if you could tell me right now they win that series, huge success. Like, I would take it. But I think unless Dame is playing, and it's probably still unlikely, even if Dame is playing, that they advance past the second round. So I'm not here to tell you that the Bucks have fixed all their issues and don't look now. Here they come, and they're going to flip the switch in the postseason. But I don't know that I'd be doing my job, and I think Bucks fans and Wisconsin sports fans, we'd be simply ignoring what's taken place for the last 2 weeks. They've actually played pretty darn well. They've won 6 in a row after losing 4 in a row. And that 4-game losing streak was punctuated by that Sunday loss to Atlanta, where they gave up 145. And I talked about this with Bill, and I don't know that we talked about it at length on this show, but I brought it up. That was a game where they quit. Like, they just quit. And I think part of that was probably, well, Damian Lillard has a blood clot. So what's this season going to be for? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here? What are we working toward? What are we fighting for if you're telling me that Damian Lillard has a blood clot and might just miss the rest of the year? So I think that was a quitting moment. That was a little bit of a sliding doors moment, perhaps Bill Simmons would say. And after that Atlanta loss, the Bucks were 6 games over 500 and kind of floundering. And Giannis and the team could have said, you know what? Screw this. Damian Lillard's going to miss the rest of the year. He's got a blood clot. We're coached by Doc Rivers. What are we doing? And yet, they didn't. They've actually fought tooth and nail. They've mounted a couple comebacks. They've won 6 in a row, and Giannis has been unbelievable. And I think we talked about this before I left. Like, Giannis is probably the second best player, the third best player in basketball at work. You want to tell me that Jokic is better? Fine. And if you want to tell me at this moment in time that SGA is better, all right, I'll give it to you. I would still start a team with Giannis, but all right, I could hear an argument that SGA is playing at a higher level than Giannis. It's not much higher, but at worst, Giannis is currently the third best player in basketball. And it's pretty insane to think that I think the third best player, the second best player, is currently underrated. Some of the things that Giannis has been doing, I think somehow he's underrated. So I remain very skeptical of the ceiling of the Bucks. Again, if Dame doesn't come back, honestly, even if Dame comes back, like, you make the second round, it's an improvement over the last 2 years. So I would take it. But I think we've got to give the Bucks credit for what they've done since we've talked last, winning 6 in a row, and Giannis really taking ownership and being responsible. And then after the game the other night, amidst like, oh, what's wrong with the Bucks? Damian Lillard's out. Doc Rivers, they stink. Maybe this offseason, right? We hit that news cycle again. And it's in that news cycle of, well, maybe this is the offseason that Giannis asks out, that he plays maybe one of his best stretches of the year. And then after the game, when is asked about, what's going on with the team, what's going on with you, he says, I'm feeling a lot of joy playing basketball. I like going out there and competing. I'm having a good time. And that's pretty cool. I think that's one of the reasons why Giannis is pretty special. On top of being at worst the third best player in the NBA. I think he's number 2, slightly behind Jokic. But at worst, he's third, and I think he's underrated, which is pretty crazy. When we come back, I want to share a couple of moments from the Packers tailgate tour last night. Comments, stories, Mark Murphy and Tucker Kraft and Lucas Van Ness and the like, and a ton of money raised for the Hunger Task Force. So I got to tell you a little bit about that when we come back. It's the Wisco Sports Show live at Flipside. Stop on by, get a fish fry, get signed up to win this Bob Buford jersey. We got some Brewers tickets to give away as well, and say hey and celebrate the end of the work week at a place that hosts the best happy hour in town. And the energy is well, it's energetic here. It's through the roof. We'll stop on by. One more segment of hour number 1 live at Flipside Pub and Grill next on the Wisco Sports Show.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show. Will we win or will we lose? The Wisco Sports Show. Will we win 2? The Wisco Sports Show. Will we win 1 minute? The Wisco Sports Show. Will we win 30 seconds?
Welcome back to the Wisco Sports Show. Last segment of the hour. A couple minutes here before we get an update from Zach and get into hour 2, which means hour 2, that's when I put in an order for a fish fry. I said we're live here at Flipside. We're giving away, and there's people next to me getting signed up right now, which is great. We have a Bob Buford jersey to give away. We have some Brewers tickets to give away, so stop on by, which you should anyways. Come say hello. I love being in La Crosse. Get a drink, get a beer, get something, get a fish fry. And while you're here, just scan the QR code with your phone real quick and get signed up to win. It's a powder blue, beautiful Bob Buford jersey. And again, if you'd rather have the Brewers tickets, you can take your pick as winner. Now, you got to be present to win. So if you stop by an hour number 2, just know you got to hang around a little bit. We're not going to make you wait until 6 or 7. But just know you can't drop in and get signed up to do after the present to win. There's something to consider. And the folks here at Flipside, they're so happy. David is so happy to be able to bring breakfast back, not just on Saturday and Sunday. That's always been a thing, of course. Right? You come in and get bloody, get some hash browns, some eggs, some sausage, bacon, screwdriver, right? Early on to get your day started right on Saturday and Sunday. But now the rest of the week, right? So Tuesday through Saturday, they're going to be open starting at 8 a.m. for breakfast. So during the week as well. And also volleyball leagues, if you haven't seen Flipside in a while, or maybe you're not in town, the volleyball, the courts outside, they opened last year. They're beautiful. It is the best sand in town. And there's lots of good bars around the Crosse, good volleyball courts. Trust me, this is the best spot. The leagues are just about full. I think Dave said we got some slots on Friday, and but they're pretty much loaded. They're full, which is awesome. They do have a cornhole league Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You can sign up at the bar. It's just $40 per team, so it's nothing crazy. If you're stopping by once a week for happy hour, anyways, especially once it gets warm and the sun is out, you might as well throw some beanbags around because you want to be out on the patio and enjoying the bar out there, anyways. Sign up for league, right? And plus, it'll keep your flaky friends accountable. They can't bail on your happy hour if you are expected to go out and compete in cornhole leagues. You can sign up at the bar, just stop in or give them a call if you have any questions, anything like that. Dave or whoever will give you some help. Last night, and there are some details I want to share, the Packers tailgate tour was at Stony Creek, which is up in Onalaska. So Mark Murphy, John Michaels, Amon Green, who else is there? Marco Rivera, Tucker Kraft, Lucas Van Ness. It was great. And my favorite part, and I think the part where everyone bought a ticket, other than, of course, to support the Hunger Task Force here in Wisconsin, was Q&A, right? So we had 400 plus people in the crowd. I posted some pictures, and they get a microphone up there. I had a microphone kind of taking it around to the crowd. Put your hand up if you have a question for Mark Murphy or one of the current or former Packers. And then at a certain point, Mark's like, all right, step down. Like a stand-up comedian or a priest beginning a homily, steps down into the crowd. All right, who's got a question? Basically walks around. And one of my favorite moments was when a kid, he couldn't have been much older than 10, if at all. I bet he was probably younger than 10, had a question for Amon Green. He said, what kind of advice would you give to a kid who wants to play for the Packers and wants to play in the NFL one day, wants to be a professional athlete? And Amon Green he's one of my favorite, maybe professional athletes, just because I've had a chance to interact with him or hear him speak once or twice. He basically told this kid, okay, look, what are you responsible for right now at this stage in your life, right? What responsibilities do you have? You got to go to school. You got to get good grades, right? So do that to the best of your ability. Be on time to school every day. Be respectful to your teachers and your classmates. Get your schoolwork done on time. Do it to the best of your ability. Listen to your mom and dad. Be respectful of them, right? Take care of everything that's on your plate. And he said, look, at this point in your life, you're not worried about paying bills. You're not worried about this, that, or the other thing. So just put all of your effort and energy into doing the best possible job you can with the things that are on your plate, like school, like being at home with your mom and dad. Like, oh, this is so great. And the kids, standing there listening as Amon Green gives them advice on how to play in the NFL one day. So super cool. I have a couple of other anecdotes, just little things I want to share with you. I also have some observations I wrote down for my trip in Iceland, which are very interesting. I know everyone's tuned in to hear that. So that's coming up. I also want to get to a couple of NFL headlines. We'll do that right off the jump, right after this 2-minute update. No commercials. Zach Heilprin, and right back here at Flipside.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, fresh off their third straight series win, the Brewers are in Arizona and open up a weekend set against the Diamondbacks. It's expected to mark the debut of lefty Jose Quintana. He's been working to get up to speed after being signed late in the offseason. He joins the crew after going 10-10 with a 3.75 ERA with the Mets last season. Quintana had some options, but chose to sign with the Brewers for several reasons.
The decision to play here, I pitch really well in Central Division, and I know this division for a long time. I really like this group. I saw how electric they are, how hungry they show play the game, and that was the most impressive thing I saw, and that's made my decision really easy.
Well, Quintana is expected to go for the crew. The Diamondbacks are going to send Eduardo Rodriguez. He comes in 0-1 with a 6.10 ERA Again, it'll be the Brewers in Arizona tonight out west. First pitch is set for 8:40. Turning to the Bucks. They are facing off against Detroit tonight. It's two teams battle for playoff positioning. Milwaukee 2 games up on the Pistons for the number 5 spot in the East. Tonight's game, the first of 2 between the teams as the season comes to an end.
Get insurance from a company who knows Wisconsin and cares about your community. You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home and auto rates? Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more about products and discounts.
Well, the Packers putting the finishing touches on their plans for the NFL draft, which is now less than 2 weeks away in Green Bay. The NFL started building out the set the league uses for the draft last week, expected to be 250,000 people there over the 3-day event. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
A little nostalgic. I've enjoyed them all. It's something that's really, it's a great tradition, and I know it will continue. And I know not only the current players, but the alumni really enjoy coming back and being a part of it.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Hour number 2 here at Flipside. We're live here in La Crosse. So stop on out. You're a WKTY listener, and it's nice to meet some folks during commercial breaks too. So come on out, please. Get a fish fry, get some drinks, and there's a lot going on at Flipside. It's such a great time of year. And I noticed this yesterday. I had to drive down to Westby, or almost to Westby. I don't know if it's technically Coon Valley or Westby, but WKTY in La Crosse, they do a monthly program called WKTY Cares, and 2 local sponsors. It's Crap Lumber Company and Performance Food Service, formerly Reinhardt's, if you know that name. And every month we get to cut $1,000 check, thanks to those sponsors, to a local organization or a charity, if there's a benefit going on. You know, anything from this high school needs new scoreboard to an organization like Horse Sense, which does horseback riding as therapy for folks with autism or for veterans, things like that. Like a million different things. And it's always a super cool thing to do. But yesterday, I was down near Westby to deliver a check to the folks who do the Coon Creek Community Watershed project. And their spring event, which is one of my favorite things to go to, is just in a couple weeks. We were down there yesterday, and I love going down there. I love driving and along the coulees. We went through Cashton and Leon and Melvina and all those spots. And as we were driving, beautiful drive, but you can tell like we're just a couple weeks away from everything not looking so brown and pukey, right? Like we're so close. And I can feel it here at Flipside too, because right behind this wall, if you're watching on the live stream, so this would be on the south side of the building, kind of as it goes up the hill towards the marsh. Beautiful volleyball courts. They had all of this built and installed and done last year. It's the best sand in town. And there's plenty of bars that do volleyball, and it's all fun and it's all good. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing around town like this. This patio and this sand is killer. And it's nice. It's kind of in the heart of town, right? So sometimes on a Tuesday night, if I'm playing volleyball, I don't have 35 minutes to drive out, past the edge of Alaska or up through the bluffs and the hills. It's right here in town, so it's super convenient as well. And they got a bar out there. Now, volleyball leagues are mostly filled up. It's a little bit like I think Dave said, like there's some spots for Friday night, and, some of the other windows that didn't fill up right away. So if you're interested in getting in volleyball, they'll have different windows throughout the summer. So pay attention, and you'll have other opportunities to get involved with the league. But they have cornhole that's wide open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So still spots, and it's $40 per team. So it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. And you're probably coming to happy hour once a week anyways. So as I said before our last break, it's a perfect way to make sure that your flaky friends don't think, well, it was a long day at work, not going to make it happy hour. Well, no, now you have to come because we're not forfeiting a game of cornhole, right? There's competition. There's some scratch on the line. So stop on out to Flipside. We'll be here for another hour. We'll be here till the end of the show, obviously. And I got a couple posters behind me and around me to get folks signed up to win a Bob Uecker jersey or your choice of a couple of sets of Brewers games, Brewers tickets. So something for baseball fans. You want to wear a Bob Uecker jersey, you want to go to a game, we'll help get you set up. Before that last break, I said there were a couple NFL headlines that I wanted to get to. Something that was sent to a group chat that I'm in just a little bit before the show started, and I was kind of, I was getting my table situated here, so I didn't look into it too much. But an hour ago, Ian Rappaport tweeted this. The Saints suddenly have a major quarterback question. Starter Derek Carr is now dealing with a shoulder injury that threatens his availability for the season, sources say. Carr is weighing options, including the possibility of surgery. This is odd because it's the middle of the offseason, and I don't remember this to be fact, but I'll Google it here and double check the best I can as I keep talking. Didn't Derek Carr miss a lot of the season last year with an injury? Like, didn't he miss? How many games did he play last year? He played 10 games last year. And I think it was the second half of the season. Well, it had to be, because who the hell was playing quarterback when they came to Lambeau? It wasn't Ian Book. It was the guy, it was Spencer Rattler, right? It was the guy with the eyebrows and the hair and, the former really, really heralded prospect. So Derek Carr missed what I would assume was about the last 5 or 6 games, 7 games. Maybe there was an absence scattered early in the year, but he missed the second half of the year. And now you're telling me that in the middle of the offseason, it's like, oh, there's an injury, and he might miss the year, or he's weighing options. Maybe I'm stating the obvious. Maybe everyone sees this. But when I saw this tweet, I first thought, oh, this is the Saints laying the groundwork for potentially taking a quarterback in the top 10, right? Because look at it this way. So Shedeur Sanders specifically has been mocked to the Saints in some drafts. And I think the Saints should take him. By the way, I think every quarter, if you're on the verge or if you're on the fence of taking a quarterback, take the quarterback. Like, I think Shedeur Sanders should go in the top 3. I think the Giants should take him. I think the Browns should take him, because those teams don't have their quarterback, and you don't get your quarterback by not trying to get a quarterback. So I know there are sometimes exceptions, but by and large, if you're drafting high and you don't have a quarterback, you should be drafting a quarterback. Otherwise, you're dead in the water. It doesn't matter if you have a nice edge rusher or a generational tight end or a running back. Like, if you don't have a quarterback, take a quarterback. So I was never going to fault the Saints for taking a quarterback, but Derek Carr is there, and they're paying him good money, and he probably feels like he's owed a thing or two, right? So the draft, and I needed to remind myself of this too, it goes Titans, Browns, Giants, Patriots, Jags, Raiders, Jets, Panthers, Saints, okay? Now, it would seem, and I haven't looked at the odds, but it would seem that Cam Ward is probably a shoo-in to go to Tennessee, right? Sorry, I had to take a drink of water. Cleveland, it would seem, or the buzz is that they're not in on a quarterback. Same with the Giants, especially because the Giants spent a bunch of money to get Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. I say a bunch relative, right? New England got Drake May at 4. Jacksonville's got Trevor Lawrence. They're at 5. Las Vegas just paid Geno Smith a bunch of money. I suppose they could take a quarterback, but it just doesn't feel like they're gonna. The Jets seemingly signed Justin Fields and kind of just want things to settle down. Now, they could take a quarterback. I kind of think that they maybe should, but I would bet against it. Carolina, Bryce Young looked nice last year. They're picking at 8. And then New Orleans at 9. I think Shedeur Sanders at 9 would make sense for New Orleans, because I think part of the way the Saints get out of this salary cap hell that they're in, of just pushing money out. The problem with the Saints is, and you can explain it without knowing much about the cap, is they pushed out money for a long time, right? And now they're struggling with that. But in order to be cap compliant, in order to be able to legally field a roster, because it's not like the NBA. Like, you can go over, you pay a tax. Like, the NFL is a hard cap league. It's less of a hard cap league than the NHL, but that's beside the point. The NFL is a hard cap league. Like, you need to get under a certain number. Not the case in the NBA, although there's some CBA, factors. Like, there's mechanisms, but the NFL, you need to get under a number. And the only way that the Saints are able to get under this number year after year is to continue to just keep going. It's like, we're going to pay this credit card with another credit card, and then we're going to pay for this credit, and it just keeps going and going and going. And that's the only way that they can continue to field the roster. Now, the Saints' issues will not all be fixed if they draft a young quarterback, and get him on that rookie contract. But my God, it would be a good first step. Plus, spare me with the Derek Carr. Like, what do you think you're doing with Derek Carr? Even if he's healthy, and he hasn't been. He's missed a ton of games. He missed 6 games or 7 games last year, and now we get this odd report, 2 weeks before the draft, that, well, Derek Carr is dealing with a shoulder injury. From what? He missed the second half of last year. It's not like if a player injures their ACL in week 17, like Christian Watson, then you hear updates in the offseason in the summer. Like, well, he might not be ready. Right? That's natural. Duh. Of course. But Derek Carr missed the second half of last year, and now we get an update in April that his availability is threatened. To me, this is the Saints or people involved kind of putting something out there, not necessarily to show their cards, but to just kind of, I don't know, lay some groundwork maybe with Derek Carr and to do some PR and to just establish themselves a little bit. So when they take a quarterback, if they were to take Shedeur Sanders at 9, everyone doesn't completely flip out. Where did that, But I also think if you don't have a quarterback, you should be drafting a quarterback. Even if you don't love all of the prospects, because without one, you're dead in the water and you're just another year closer to getting fired. So yeah, I think the Giants and the Browns should take quarterbacks. I understand they signed Russell Wilson and James. I understand the Browns might not like the prospect. Oh, Shedeur Sanders too rich for our blood. Okay, well, you're the Browns. You don't have anyone. Like, the only way you're going to like the Saints, fix your salary situation. The Saints situation is much different from the Browns. The Browns have a salary situation of their own based completely around what they've done with Deshaun Watson. The only way you fix that, or you start to fix that, is you get a cheaper rookie quarterback. That gives you a lot of relief. So I am someone who thinks Shedeur Sanders is going to take him in the top 5. But if he gets to 9, I think it would make sense for the Saints. And maybe this is a line into their thinking or their next step, learning that, Derek Carr is really not healthy. Derek Carr has missed, by the way, these are the amount of games that he's played the last couple of years. It's actually more than I would have guessed. 10, 17, 15, 17. I almost don't believe that. Derek Carr played 17 games for New Orleans in 2023. I almost feel like that's wrong. And to be honest, I pulled up his Pro Football Reference here. It's like, well, Derek Carr is a player with a history of injury. Just look. And then I popped it open. And it's like all these games, he's actually been pretty available. Doesn't feel like it. The problem is when he's been available, he's been banged up or he's sucked. Probably some combination of both. Man, if you think that, well, we just got to get Derek Carr healthy and then we'll be good. Like, no, you won't. Text in 608-321-1670. Coyote Mike, good to hear your voice, Coyote Mike. Says, Grant, glad you're back to Wisconsin. So I went to all 3 Brewers Rocks games, watching the games live at the park. The Brewers have some very good young players. Collins looks like a keeper. Churio appears very confident and focused at the plate and in the outfield. Oliver Dunn might be a keeper too, but I got to see more. Had a couple good hits and defensively too. Piamps laid an egg yesterday. Yelich looks a little uncomfortable and unsure at the plate. Hoskins had some good defensive plays, but no key hits. Yeah, Hoskins put his defense. Said no one ever, but you're true. One last thing, Tuesday and Wednesday nights, there were swarms of young people at the games. Your age, good to see that. Nice commentary on the state of baseball as well, Coyote Mike. Appreciate that. Yeah, I said back at the beginning of the show, if you've joined us since then, it's the story of the Brewers and their turnaround since we last talked. The story of their turnaround has been Churio powering the thing. Yelich had a couple nice hits, but he still doesn't look comfortable at the plate, to your point, Coyote Mike. Contreras, I know he had a couple Coors Field specials, but he still looks like he's a long way out. Hoskins isn't even in the ballpark, pardon the baseball pun. It's Churio. And this run, stretch of a couple games he's had, and I'll hit you with some of these stats again. I just bookmarked a couple. 327 now on the season with an OPS over 1,000, 16 RBIs. OptiStats tweeted this. The Brewers jacked Churio over his last 2 games. 12 RBIs, 6 extra base hits, 3 home runs, 2 doubles, and a stolen base. Since the RBI became official in 1920, the only other MLB players to hit those marks over a 3-game span are Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Shohei Ohtani. It's not too bad. That's what I'm saying. He's been powering the thing. We're still waiting on Yelich. We're still waiting on Contreras. Now, Contreras wasn't the nuclear disaster in Colorado that he had been previously, but still not really there yet. Still figuring it out. Yelich still putting it together, if you will. Hoskins still getting it going. Venturio, and this is why baseball's so funny. It's such a funny game, and there's a lot of reasons why I think you can't quit baseball. One reason that baseball is interesting is you would think ultimate team sport, right? Offense, defense, relief pitching, starting pitching, base running. right? All these different things. And you would think that, well, one player can't make that much of a difference. Yeah, they can. Like Churio's done it over the last week and a half. Yelich in 2018. You think that Keon Broxton and Domingo Santana and Travis Shaw, although Travis Shaw was a good player, I'm not trying to dismiss those guys, but it was Yelich driving the car and everyone else doing just a little bit when necessary, right? Like one guy can power the thing. And we're seeing that with Jackson Churio right now. 608-321-1670 if you want to text the show. Would love to get your thoughts. I'll get some comments off the live stream on the other side of this break as well. We're live here at Flipside on the northish side of La Crosse, right down the hill from the corner of La Crosse and West Ave, the main corner. If you've ever been to La Crosse as an out-of-towner, it's right there up by campus. And if you're a WK2Y listener, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But the changes at Flipside that you should know about, they're now serving breakfast starting 6 days a week, opening at 8. Not just on weekends, at 10 for bloodies, screwdriver, that kind of thing. That's been a thing. But opening early for breakfast now, Tuesday through Saturday, pancakes, hash browns, eggs, bacon, all that sort of thing. And also, by the way, you can make your Easter dinner reservations for April 20th coming up. What is that? A week from Sunday, 2 weeks from Sunday, I believe. Right? No. A week from Sunday. Yeah. I was out of the country. Did I mention that? I have an excuse. Let's take a 3-minute break. We'll come back. We'll continue the Wisco Sports Show. If you're a WK2Y listener, stop by after work, get some fish, get a drink, and come enjoy the last 40 minutes of the show with us live at Flipside. It's the Wisco Sports Show. We'll be right back.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show. Will we win or will we not? The Wisco Sports Show. Will we win to the Wisco Sports Show? Will we win 1 minute? The Wisco Sports Show. Will we win 30 seconds?
Welcome back to the Wisco Sports Show. We're live here at Flipside in Lacrosse. Always relish a chance to come back and be in Lacrosse, meet some listeners. And after this show tonight, I'm headed to another establishment. Not before I get my fill of fried fish and a couple beers here at Flipside, but I will be headed up the bluff. I'm not gonna say the name of the bar, but it's up the bluff. Not too hard to figure out. So playing live music up there tonight. I'm looking forward to that and hanging out this weekend for a bachelor party as well. Stop by Flipside. Obviously, get some food and get some drinks, of course. But for show purposes, got posters on the wall behind me. Here, let me throw the camera on. I don't want to mess up my camera. I'm just going to leave it. But trust me, it's on the wall behind me here. And it's a QR code that you scan with your phone to win a Bobby Uecker jersey or your choice of a selection of Brewers ticket. And it takes 20 seconds to sign up. People have been doing it throughout the night. You got to be present to win. We'll pull winners right before 5 or right before 6 o'clock. So stop on out and get some food and drink, but also take advantage of that. Bobby Uecker jersey. It's the old powder blue. Sweet. So make sure you get here. Comments on the live stream. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I don't want to ignore folks because you can't take phone calls tonight. Nick says, how's it going, Rick? Rick says, good, buddy. How's your night shaping up? Nick says, got some friends coming over, some house cleaning want to get done. Been a busy week. Tuesday night, didn't get home until midnight. Rick says, yeah, we're doing Easter tomorrow, so we'll have a house full. I think that's more for them than for the show. It's just, hey, interact with listeners. Come on. Text from Rick and Spencer. Good to have you back. I just want to get the draft over with. I'm tired of Bukowski overthinking it. I need to send him a picture of that. I'm kind of with you on the draft. My issue with not NFL draft coverage, it's not an issue. I don't fault anyone for doing a million mock drafts and watching film and getting really into it. The issue I have, the reason I can't do that is because I'll just watch Brewers. Like there's other sports, there's other games going on. So I am very interested in what the Packers do with their first round pick, and there's a lot of good edge rushers in this draft, very deep. Could this be the year of the wide receiver? I was saying that all the way back to the end of the season. Like I was one of the first people to bang that drum. I don't say that to, I guess why else would I say that? I am beating my own drum, I suppose. So yeah, I'm puffing out my chest. I was one of the first people to talk about a wide receiver in the first round. But I'm interested in what they do at 23, obviously. But someone like Bukowski, Rick, who I love that you're putting him on blast. Anytime anyone wants to put Bukowski on blast for anything, I'm a big fan. But Pete's all Packers all the time. He is quite literally locked on the Packers. So that's all there is to do right now is go over prospects, play with your trade value charts. And the Packers will give 65, and then they'll get indies for 42, but then they'll make up for it by giving them a 123. It's like Chinese to me. This might as well be Chinese or Icelandic. Did I mention that I was an Iceland last week? Like it's not for me. It's not my bag. So it seems like someone to supplement the defensive line, and there's interior defensive lineman like Darren Harmon's name thrown around. I'd be down with that. That sounds fun. An edge rusher, Shamar Stewart, or others, there's James Pierce from Tennessee. I'd be down with all that. They need an extra body. They need a big high ceiling player there. I'd be good with a wide receiver. If a great tackle falls, I'd be good with that as well. I'd be less interested in, corner. If an elite corner falls, okay, you have an opportunity to get a great player. The problem is, and I've talked about this, and I remember Ryan Wood was one of the first people to bring this up. For as short-handed as they were at corner last year, I mean, they were starting Eric Stokes, for God's sakes, in some of those games. I don't know if the corner really killed them. It certainly wasn't their biggest issue. Could it have been better? Yeah, okay. But if you have a corner that can stay glued to a wide receiver for 3 seconds instead of 2.5, well, that wouldn't have made the difference for their pass rush. Their pass rush wasn't good enough. They weren't even sniffing opposing quarterback for long stretches last year. So you're telling me an extra second of coverage, which is what it amounts to. You're telling me an extra second of coverage is going to make a difference? Like, no, I don't think that was their biggest issue last year. So if an elite corner prospect drops, like they got a guy who could be legit quarterback one, well, great. Because any chance you have, any elite player falls, you're going to take it. But at 23, I don't think Jalen Carter is falling. Right? That's an example of an elite player. No matter what you need, you just got to take them. I don't think that player is falling to the Packers at 23. So anybody along the defensive line, edge rusher, interior player, in. Wide receiver, in. Elite tackle if it's there, in. Everything else, I'm going to have to squint a little bit, or the Packers are going to have an awesome reason for taking the player, because I still think they needed infusion badly. Wide receiver, defensive line. There should be great options available. But it is quite literally Pete's job to overthink it, Rick. I'm definitely taking a picture of that text and sending it to him. That's great. Little NFL news, and I shared this in our opening segment this hour. The Saints have basically, I guess, made folks aware that Derek Carr has a shoulder injury, and his availability for the season might be in jeopardy, which is wild considering it's April. So, like, how bad is this injury, and how did this injury happen? Remember, he missed the final 7 games last season. Remember Spencer Rattler, that nightmare at Lambeau Field. So it's very odd, and to me, it's almost some signaling or some groundwork being laid by New Orleans that maybe Shedeur Sanders could be in play at 9. I this full draft cycle, I'm like, Shedeur Sanders is going to go top 5. He's a quarterback. He's one of the top in the class. Whether he's first or second, he's going. He's a huge name, right? Going. And I've backed off that a little bit. Maybe he lasts closer to 10, but I still think he's going top 10. And if he's there for the Saints at 9, they should take him, because who cares what's going on with Derek Carr's shoulder? Who cares about anything with Derek Carr? He's not getting you there, even in the South. And the price of admission in the South is be better than Baker Mayfield. And Derek Carr's not even close. Like, I have a lot of respect for Baker. Now, an elite quarterback could come in and be better than Baker, just the same way an elite quarterback could come into the North and be better than Goff. Right? Goff is excellent, but I think there's a ceiling. Baker's excellent. I think there's a ceiling. I'll tell you what, Carr's not that guy. He is not that guy. So they shouldn't care. They shouldn't care about his health. But I think this is almost signaling, just a little signaling that maybe they could be in on Shedeur, which I find interesting. I hope he goes high. I think it's better. I think it's much better if he goes high and is a big storyline. I think it's more interesting. Some of the Bucks. So I've been scrolling Twitter throughout the show because I'm getting caught up on things that have taken place over the last week or two, and I think we got to give the Bucks credit, specifically Giannis, because after that Hawks loss and the news of Damian Lillard's blood clot and his potential, absence for the rest of the year, like it's bad, right? So they quit against the Hawks. Since then, I think mostly led by Giannis, they've won 6 in a row, and they've really, really been playing well, and they deserve credit for that. NBA TV 5 hours ago tweeted a graphic: Giannis versus Cade Cunningham. I believe that game is that game tonight or tomorrow? Let's see here. That game is tonight. It's 6. It's on NBA TV. And they said in this tweet, a potential first-round matchup. It's, I think, impossible. I think it's mathematically impossible for it to be a first-round preview. I just saw a tweet and a piece of audio earlier today, Kendrick Perkins, saying that Giannis could be the best player in a 7-game series against the Pacers, which is hilarious because Giannis is going to be the best player in any series against anybody who's not Nikola Jokic and maybe SGA. Although I tell you what, SGA is going to win the MVP, and he should. I'm not saying he's not good. I think he's excellent. But I just feel like we've seen this movie before where a team wins 60-plus games in the regular season, and they're deep, and they make threes, and it just looks so easy, and no one can match them, and they're young and athletic. And then that team gets to the postseason. It's like, okay, well, now the team's going to get, all the games are going to see them essentially 7 times in 2 weeks, over and over and over again. The depth that is also valuable and that helps you win 60 games in the regular season all of a sudden isn't worth as much. And a player like SGA, who, hits tough mid-range jumpers, he does more than that, but, can you go toe-to-toe in a series with a player like Jokic or Giannis? To me, there's still a line of demarcation. And maybe Shea leads the Thunder to a title and he's brilliant throughout, and then I will change my opinion and my evaluation of that team. But I just feel like the Thunder are the Coach Bud Bucks in 18 and 19, a little before they were ready. Unbelievable regular season team. And I think they'll win games in the postseason. I'm not saying they're going to get bounced in the first round and look like crap. But you get into the postseason and all too often it's about who has the best player. And while Shea might be the MVP, and I think he's tremendous, I don't think he's on the level of some of these other guys. So Kendrick Perkins say, well, Bucks Pacers, Giannis could be the best player in this. He's the best player in that series with a bullet. No, he's got to play well. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to play well, but he is far and away. I mean, who talk about Halliburton? Come on, get out of here. All right, I got to take a break. We're going to come back here at Flipside in just a couple of minutes. Stop on by, please. Get food, get a drink, get a beer, and get signed up to win this Bob Uecker jersey as well. I'm going to mill around, shake your hand, say hello to people. We'll be back in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
It's the Wisco Sports Show. A couple more segments. And as I was coming back from the can, sorry, that's TMI. I was chatting with a lady at the bar. She's like, when are we going to give away the Bob Uecker jersey? Or if you are interested, we have Brewers tickets as well, a twofer. Or I guess not a twofer, but a pick your own adventure for the prize, right? And I think we're going to do it 5:50, about another 10 or 15 minutes. So I won't make everyone wait until 6. I won't be that vain. But I want to wait as close to 6 as possible, just in case folks want to get here for the next 10 minutes. You still have time to stop into Flipside. It's right across from Menards on the southern part of the north side of the Crosse, if that makes sense. And if you're a WK2I listener, you know where I'm talking about. And if you're not, it's not important to you at this moment in time because you're not in town. But would love to see you come down and get fish. This place is hopping. You signed up to win the jersey. And while you're here, also ask the bartender about cornhole leagues, because for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday league, beautiful sand just on the south side of the restaurant. They just opened it last year. It's the best sand, the best enclosure and patio and bar in town. You can sign up for cornhole. I would say to get signed up for volleyball too, but I think they're like 99% full. Dave said they might have a couple of spots for like Friday night leagues, but it's limited. People are ready to rock and roll, and it feels like we're close outside. I was driving around yesterday down by Westby to meet with sponsor, with the client. Like, it's gray and brown and crummy looking, but it is close. You can feel it. AJ in Janesville said the exact same thing that I said. The Thunder remind me of the 2018, 2019 Bucks. That's how I feel too. And I could very well be wrong. Obviously, I don't know how it's going to play out. The NBA playoffs, and this is part of the problem with how the NBA is covered, is the Thunder have been the number one team in the West with a bullet. They're cruising to victories, and all year long, everybody's like, they're unbelievable. They're awesome. Look at they're great. They're so deep. Look at their point differential. Look at this, that. Unbelievable. That. No one's questioning, right? No one's nitpicking. No one's going, well, but maybe, like Louis C.K., but maybe. And then they're going to get into the playoffs, and then they're going to lose in the second round, and everyone's going to say, well, they were always overrated, right? Right? They're a depth merchant. Or, Shea is a free throw merchant. He relies too much on contested shots. It's too much driving kick, right? All this stuff, as if it was always true. Whereas the way that we should cover the NBA is like, hey, this team's number one seed, they're unbelievable. But here are a couple of reasons why maybe it doesn't work out. Or, the opposite of that for a team like the Bucks, or even the Pacers, or a team like the Pistons, right? That's down in the lower half of the playoff bracket. It's like, well, this team really hasn't gotten off the runway in a way that like most people are probably hoping for. But here's a couple of reasons why maybe they could. You know what I mean? Like that's how the game should be analyzed. That's how sports talk should be done. As I take a drink of water back on the air, my throat's a little scratchy. I'm not sick. I think I'm just sleep deprived. I stayed at Stony Creek last night, where the Packers event was, up in Onalaska. So it's right by the exit, kind of right up by the farm and fleet. Again, those of you who live here, you know where it is. And for those of you who don't, you don't care, but I'll show it to you anyway. And I was hoping, because I'd been out of town and I'm just so tired. I'm like, I'm going to sleep in tomorrow, right? I'm going to sleep until 9. I'm going to get caught up on sleep. No, I was up at 6:15 without fail. I wasn't getting back to sleep. So tonight we will survive on Red Bull and fried fish, which I put my order in. So still time to join us out here at Flipside. And I believe Eric on I-90 has arrived at the show too. And I don't think I have a second microphone, so we got to get something figured out. But Eric, is the sun out outside? It is. Okay, so it's back. Well, when I pulled up, he says it's a beautiful day. When I pulled up, the Flipside, got a good view of these volleyball courts out here, the patio, the bar. I think, man, just a couple of weeks, sunshine like this, the best sand in town. It's just absolutely beautiful. So I know I'm waxing poetic, but I do love being in the Crosse, and I love being at Flipside. we're talking a little bit about the Packers draft before this last break, and I'll get into it to a degree, and I'll continue to get into it a little bit more as we get closer. I just can't be Andy Herman. I can't be Bukowski. He's learning hundreds of players, and this is why this guy's going to be a Packer, and this is why this guy will never be a Packer. It's like, chances are the player who goes in the first round, like, he'll probably be on our radar, but it's probably not going to be the obvious one that we all expect. Like, it's just a little bit of a mess, and that's why it's fun. It's random, and there's things that are going to surprise us. But as I was saying before the break, I take a player for the defensive line, someone who can supplement the pass rush as an interior rusher or as an edge rusher. I would take that. Either one. I would take a wide receiver. That would be great. I think those are the two biggest positions in need. They weren't addressed in free agency or with a trade. So now we turn our eyes to the draft, so we can't just forget about that and say, well, best player available. Well, no, they have legitimate needs in a division that they're going to have to take a step to contend. To beat the Vikings or to beat the Lions and to make up the ground that, that they were behind on last year, like, they're going to get better. It's not going to be enough for them to just hold their water. So those needs have to be addressed. And they chose to ignore those needs or not address them for whatever reason. Maybe they tried, didn't work out in free agency or in the trade. But now they got to do it in the draft. So I'm looking at wide receiver, at defensive line. It's got to be one of those two. And I wouldn't be surprised. There's just so much depth at edge rusher. That's what I keep reading about this draft. It's this long list of players. Like Shamar Stewart is this tool, physical freak. And some people are ranking like 4th, 5th, 6th best edge rusher in the draft. There's a ton of them, right? So many to the point, and maybe these two things are correlated. This is my brain just trying to connect dots. But if you've been really into the weeds on draft stuff over the last few weeks, and as much as I can, Abdul Carter is like, he's not sliding, but maybe he's not going 2 or 3. Maybe he's going 4, 5, 6, which is a big departure from what we've heard previously. I've also seen a lot of buzz like, well, the Bears could maybe jump up and gun for Abdul Carter. Because a player like the Browns or a team like the Browns or the Giants, maybe they're looking to move down. I bet a lot of teams in the top 5 would like to move down. Maybe the Bears would be the team looking to move up. But I think part of the reason why Abdul Carter, slide is too aggressive a word, but he just lost a little steam as this dominant, generational, clear-cut best player, quarterbacks notwithstanding in the draft. I think part of that is, okay, so you get Abdul Carter in the top 5, but there's so many good edge rushers in the draft. Wouldn't you nab someone else? Wouldn't you want to nab someone else? The problem with that is, like, Travis Hunter is an intriguing player, a two-way guy, but I think it's going to depend on team and scouting department. Like, how good can he be at wide receiver for us and corner for us, right? Like, what kind of player do we view him as? This just isn't an awesome draft. Like, if you're a team like New England at 4 needs a tackle, like, the kid from LSU, he's got short arms, like really short arms, debilitatingly short arms, to the point where you look at players within that threshold, it's like, well, there hasn't really been a lot of all-pros, high-level, high-caliber tackles with those measurables. So, well, Abdul Carter's great, but there's more good edge rushers. Travis Hunter's great, but is the two-way thing really going to provide as much value in the NFL? Or do we believe in him at one of those positions enough to take him that high? Even some of the best wide receivers like Tet McMillan, like, I've seen him going way down the board in draft. This is not a draft with 4 or 5 clear-cut elite players at their position who are surefire things to go in the top 5 or top 10. So what I think is fun about this draft, and it's great that it's in Green Bay, is that I think there's going to be players that go way higher than expected and way lower than expected. And that's always true to a degree, but like it's always expected. I think it's going to be more expected, or you should expect it more in this draft, which will be fun. And I think it will lead to some chaos. And I think chaos benefits a team like the Packers sitting at 23. You're a team that probably is interested in a couple different players at different positions. They can sit back and say, well, we'll see what the appetite is, the interest is from teams in the first 20 picks, and that will dictate what's available at the beginning of the second round. I could see, if there's a lot of players, let's say tackle, corner, defensive line in the teams, well, then maybe there's a run on edge rushers at the beginning of the 20s, or vice versa. If there's a lot of edge rushers, defensive players in the teams, maybe the wide receiver run begins in the early 20s, like we saw in, what was that draft? What was the Jordan Addison draft? 2023, when it's like Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, there was another player in there as well who went. Like maybe we see a wide receiver run like that in the early 20s. I think the early 20s, let's say, they're poised for a run on some position. If it's wide receiver, it benefits the Packers. Edge rusher, it benefits the Packers. Anything else, when those players all come off the board in the team, I still think you can get tools the edge rusher because there's so many. There might be a wide receiver too that you can get, but then you can go somewhere else. It means probably only corner is falling to you, or some like a Derek Harmon interior defensive line, something like that. 608 321 1670. We are barreling towards the end of the show. We still have a little time to get your comments in and thoughts in. Nick says, Grant, you see the Sports Illustrated article about Pack being the worst in the league at drafting. Just curious on your take. Well, I did not see the story, but I'll give you my uneducated take. There are many around the league or people who follow football. It's like, well, the Packers, they draft, unbelievable, great drafting team. I think they're good, and I think they're loosely, I would say they're in the top third of the NFL. They can have bad drafts. They've certainly had plenty of home run drafts. I don't think the Packers are this elite draft and develop organization that many have, kind of talked about them, like they're talked about nationally. They also don't suck at it. And many Packers fans seem to think they suck at it. Goody's drafting for his job, that and the other thing. Like, I don't think that's it. I think they're upper third. That's what I would say. I didn't read the story. I don't have draft charts in front of me. That would be my take. Is they're not nearly as good as some say, and they're not nearly as bad as mostly Packers fans say, especially Packers fans with a little bit of an axe to grind with Goody, mostly I think recently because of his first rounder. And that's why this pick 23 interests me more than any Packers pick in a while, because this kind of needs to hit. And I know Bukowski will tell you, well, it doesn't matter where you get your players. If you get great players in the fourth and fifth round, what does the first round matter? Well, imagine being good at finding players down the draft board and then also getting the player in the first round. Like, well, that's how you win a Super Bowl, right? Or that's how you put yourself at the top of the NFC North after being second or third fiddle the last couple of years. Does that make sense? Rick says we always draft solid players but never special ones. I think that's good. I think Rashawn Gary's very good. I think Jair was special when he was healthy, but the runway can be so short with corners, especially ones that then deal with injuries. Right now, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Tucker Kraft, I believe all those guys to be very, very good. I don't know if any of them are special. Tucker Kraft might be the closest of them all. I think Jaden Reed is no special plays. I wouldn't say he's a special player at this moment in time. I think that's why a lot of people look at Goody's first round pick. It's like, where's the home run? Where's the game breaker? Where's the guy who's the anchor point on your defense? Or the guy who completely is a game changer and an unstoppable force on offense? Where's that guy? That guy isn't there. I'm not to sign him. Xavier McKinney, or players like that in the past. Josh Jacobs obviously would be one, but then in 19 when they got Darius and Preston Smith and Adrian Amos, like they've had to add those players, which is fine, right? That's what free agency is for. You have money to spend, so good, sign good players. It's not an indictment on the Packers. I would like to see one or two of those special players come out of the draft. Does that make sense? And I think that's why so many people are probably out over their skis a little bit with Rudy. Like, he's drafting for his job, or this first round pick is everything. Like, I think there's a lot on the table. I think there's a lot riding on this draft, but no, he doesn't suck. He's not nearly as bad as again, some Packers fans would lead you to believe. One more segment here at Flipside. Great news. They're now open early throughout the week at 8 a.m., offering breakfast. Dave was telling me something he's wanted to do for a while. They've been working towards it. It's just been about getting the right details in place and getting it staffed correctly, and now he's super excited. They're offering breakfast starting at 8 a.m. 6 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday. You can start your day with pancakes, eggs, sausage, bacon, a little hot sauce on there, maybe a Bloody Mary or a screwdriver to go along with it. Or his creation, the Krabby Dave, topped with crab and cream cheese, eggs made to order, hollandaise sauce. Goes very, very good with a spicy Bloody Mary, a little kick. Oh, and by the way, speaking of breakfast and brunch, they're taking reservations for Easter. So if you need a place for Easter brunch a week from Sunday, so that be 9 days away, something like that. Yeah, 9 days away. Make sure you give them a call and get your name on the list, because you don't want to be caught with your pants down on Easter Sunday, literally, or in the sense of getting breakfast. And if you're not prepared to make a ham and do the whole thing, well, yeah, then just go out. It makes all the sense in the world, but you got to reserve your spot. So give them a call or stop in and talk to your bartender. Tonight would be great. We're going to give away the jersey, Brewers ticket, or a Bob Uecker jersey. I'm going to take one more break. We'll come back and wrap up the Wisco Sports Show for the week live here at Flipside on the north side of the Crosse.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Brent Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will be in a few minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will be in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will be in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will be in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. A couple more minutes before we wrap up the show. I got a fish fry next to me. We're about to give away this Bob Uecker jersey or Brewers tickets. It's an excellent package for our lucky winner. We've been getting people to scan the QR code. It's been right on the wall behind me. We're at Flipside, Pub and Grill, Artie's Flipside. And we're getting to the point now of the year. Weather was beautiful today. The sun was out. I may have taken a trip up to the bluff today just to, honestly, to wake myself up because I'm a little jet lagged from the last week. A little sleep deprived. I was up late last night. And I'm like, I need to wake up before the show. How do I just recharge the batteries a little bit? Just went up on the bluff, felt the sun. But when I rolled into Flipside, the sun was shining. And this patio out here, I tell you what, the best sand in town, the enclosure little bar out there. And we're almost to that point in the summer. And even if you're not a WK2I listener and listening in the Crosse, like this is the universal shared experience around the entire state of Wisconsin. So we're looking forward to that. And as I told you before the break, breakfast is back. Breakfast is back. Tuesday through Saturday, 6 days a week, opening at 8. And Dave is so excited about that. So I'm going to have to maybe be here right at open tomorrow. I think maybe I'll need to stop by, probably a little hair of the dog if I know what tonight brings. Playing some live music tonight up on the pull up. I'm not going to say where because that would be free advertising. But if you're interested, always stop out and then we can meet for breakfast at Flipside tomorrow morning at 8. Last night, we can wrap up the show with this. The Hunger Task Force hosted the Packers tailgate tour at Stony Creek in Alaska. So Q&A with Packers current and former Mark Murphy. What's his role? What's the title? Scott, do you know Mark Murphy's title? Chairman of the board? De facto owner? I don't know. Something like that. It doesn't matter. It's just president and CEO, just an itch that I've scratched. So he was taking questions, Packers take questions. So I was walking around the crowd with a microphone, and I'm trying to find, put your hand up if you have a question. And if you tried to get a question last night and you weren't able to, I'm sorry. I was the kids had their hands in the air. I'm gonna go to the kids first. And the kids were the ones throwing the fastballs at Mark Murphy. There was probably a 7-year-old who goes, yeah, who are we taking in the draft? The crowd, ate that up. And Mark Murphy said something along the lines of, oh, if I tell you, they'll kill me. They'll be mad at me. And then another kid, couldn't have been more than 10, asked, hey, where do you think Aaron Rodgers ends up? The crowd loved that. And Mark Murphy, people like to knock him because he's folksy and because he doesn't seem devious and cunning and even malicious as some NFL owners do. He said, you know what? I think he ends up with the Vikings. Completes the timeline. It is weird that he hasn't signed yet. Maybe he's going to announce it right before the draft because maybe he is a turd who wants the attention. I don't know. I thought he would have signed weeks ago. I thought like the weekend after free agency. I thought he'd take a couple of days. He's taken more, so I have to wear that. I thought he'd sign earlier. But Mark Murphy saying, yeah, basically, I don't know. JJ McCarthy, they like him. It's difficult with that coaching staff, that roster, and that division to say, yeah, we trust J.J. McCarthy to come in right away and pick up where we left off last year, which is winning 14 games, 13 games. You know what I mean? That's just a lot to ask of a rookie quarterback or a second-year quarterback who was injured most of his first year. He was around. I'm sure he was able to learn and prepare, but it's not like he got a ton of reps. I think he played one preseason game, right? He was hurt in the first one, and he looked good, but there's a real lack of experience and lack of physical reps. And it would be one thing if the Vikings went 8-8 last year, 8-9, I guess. They won 14 games, 13 games, whatever it was. And to ask a rookie or a second-year guy with that little experience, that's bold, which I think many people are looking at the Vikings like, okay, I'm sure they like J.J. McCarthy, and I'm sure they want J.J. McCarthy to be the guy. I think he's probably good. But the position they're in, I think, has just as much to do with what they're going to do with that position, compared to, how good or how far along or how competitive they think J.J. McCarthy can be. So really fun night, raised tens of thousands of dollars. If you haven't seen the final number yet for the Hunger Task Force, have an excellent weekend. I will be back in studio on Monday, able to take your wonderful phone calls, and I'm looking forward to that. Have a great weekend, Fins Up. I will talk to you Monday.